Good morning. So, first of all, we got some rain, or rather, we're getting a few droplets of rain, so that's all good news. So, this morning, I would like to just kind of go over how I would approach daily hair care if I were fixing to go to a jackpot show or getting ready for an event. So, these girls haven't been. They were rinsed and blown about a week ago, so this is about a week in a dry lot. They don't look too terrible, but they could certainly use some touching up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time and show you how I would blow out the dirt to get to where I wanted to wash one on one heifer. And on one heifer, I'd like to just show you what you could do with a brush without a blower if you didn't have that tool right now. It's perfectly okay, in my mind, to use a brush. You can get pretty good results. It just takes a lot more work, okay? So that's what I know. All right. So first of all, I would like to go over some tools that I'm going to use. So right now it's April, and as you can see, their hair is starting to, we're getting the old hair is starting to slip, especially these girls. These are all yearlings, and it's April. We're going into May, so it's time for them to slip that kind of like calf winter coat that they have, right? So the first tool, if I wanted to get that taken care of, the first thing I would use is a shedding comb. So this cool tool is really effective at taking out that downy hair, and I'm going to just show you real quick what that looks like. So I'm just going to take this comb. Really what I'd do first, it would be I'd kind of like blow them out and get all the hair going the right way, the same way, but I'm just taking a few swipes at her. You can see all of this hair sloughing off, right? So that's a pretty effective tool to start with. Okay, that's a lot of hair. That was like 5 strokes. The next tool, let's take it in here and find one, is a rice root brush. This one doesn't look entirely all, actually, so it might have some plastic bristles in there, or just a rice root brush. This is the thing that's going to work that hair, that's going to go through the hair and get to the hide and really make a big difference, okay? So we've got our shedding comb. We got a blower. So I think on the white heifer, we'll use her with just the brush because we can see a big difference, or not, right? I also like these Smart Sensation combs. They have a whole bunch of different kinds. They have like a curved one that has narrower teeth, and this one, and then they have a wider one. These are really good too at getting that hair worked and getting dirt out. Okay, so I'm going to try and show you with just my cell phone camera how I would approach blowing off this heifer. Okay, let's see. So it's going to get noisy. First thing I like to do is I like to walk up here. Really good. And blow everywhere. So I like to start at the head. You're doing a pretty good job. You can get scoop out of it. Right now I'm just getting dirt out. Okay. So my goal here is I'm going to get as much of the dirt out as I can, okay? So I'm going to put it on time-lapse video, and we'll see what that looks like. And I'll tell you how long I take to get this one heifer clean, okay? Okay, we shuffled down to 2 heifers. We have our white heifer that I have not yet touched with a blower. So she's going to be our trial run on how to do it with a brush. Now these ladies have been blown off once. Again, it's been about a week since the last time I worked them. So if you were doing daily hair care, as I'm trying to show you today, it wouldn't be quite so involved this first blowout round. But they've been pretty dirty. So really, let's say this is the starting of working your project, like I am kind of right here. So it's going to take a little bit of work to get them clean. So I got them blown out, and they're pretty clean, right? She looks clean-ish. But then you see these little Klingon poops over here. The blower's not going to get off, and it's really noticeable on this heifer with white on her. You can see mostly on her legs. So what I like to do next is just take a comb or a brush and go through all that hair, right? So here I am. I took my Smart Sensation on her. She's got a lot of hair. Or you can just use a flat Scotch comb. I have those too. And I'm going to go all the way over, brushing her out just like that, okay? Then I'm going to come back probably and blow her again before I rinse her. Now the reason why I want to get all that dirt out before I put water on them is because it's easier to get it out when it's dry than when it's wet. It has been kind of drizzling on these girls, so their top line was getting a little grimy and wet. But generally speaking, it is much easier to get the dirt out of them with a blower first and then wash their dirty hair than it is to try to wash dirt out of their hide. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to time lapse again with the comb and show you how I'd comb through these girls. And then we'll go back to the blower for a second run. All right, we had to move indoors due to rain, which is awesome. So I got my girls tied here in my practice show spot. It's a good idea. It's something to note that it is really actually a great idea to practice tying them up at home as though they're at a show. I don't have neck ropes on them right now because I'm standing here with them and going to watch them, but it really does help them get comfortable if you can set them up at home in a spot where it's like they're going to be at a show. And then, you know, it's comfortable at home and they can get used to that. And then when they go to the show, it's kind of like that's their comfort spot, right? They know how to do this. So a little tidbit. So I'm going to turn on that time lapse and I'm going to work on this heifer with just the brush and combs, and we'll see what she looks like in the end. So here we go. All right, so here we are after that little time lapse. I'd say that was, 10 minutes of brushing. So we got most of the debris off, most of this, as best I can. We got the straw and the hay off, and we got the shit off, the manure, pardon me, off of there as far as what's on the surface. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take her and we're going to have a little bath. And then I'll bring her back in here and again, simply just brushing her off with a brush. We'll see what we can get her to look like. Okay. Okay, I realize I probably should show you how I'm going to go about rinsing her. So I just have my water on here. Most important to me is to get that water all along that top line, the very tippity top of her back to start with, okay? I'm going to be very careful around her head and ears. so I don't get it in her ear. And then I'm going to come right back to the top line. All right. And, oops, I can see where I missed some stuff with my brush, but the water's going to help me. We're going to brush this some more, so that's all right. It's really okay if you don't get it the first time, right? So then I'm going to take that water. You can kind of see how dirty that water is coming off of her because I didn't blow her. But that's okay. This means you're going to take more time doing this. And so you can see how I just am washing that dirt, sweat, debris right on down with the water, right? So that's my goal. I'm going to do that both sides, but I'm not going to stop at the top. I'm going to come underneath her belly. We're going to work there too. So I'm going to spend some time at this, getting her cleaned up, and then we'll go back inside and use the brush. Okay, so here she is. I've simply rinsed her with water. Now I'm going to take those same brushes and I'm going to comb her hair down all over her body. That's going to help me get the water out, especially without using a blower this first time. Then I'm going to brush them all forward. Brush all of her hair forward. Even on her legs, her belly, everywhere. I'm going to brush it forward and comb it. I'm going to use a Scotch comb and a red rubber brush that I would use to wash her. I did not wash this heifer. I just want to show you what I could do with her with just water and brushes. And then, because it is raining, I will blow her off and take another picture. But you don't have to have all the fancy tools. You don't have to. You can do it without that. Or even just using a blower at the show. You can make it work. All right, here she is, brushed a couple of times, and she's still pretty wet. So, and she's a white heifer, so she's going to take twice as long to dry naturally. So I'm just going to leave her tied up here. She's got something to eat. She's chewing her cud. She's comfortable. She's happy. And I'm going to work on, let's do Zelda. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I would do for daily work. So the first thing I did already was blew most of the dirt out of her. Now I'm going to take her over and rinse her. I'm not a fan of washing animal hair very often. Really, it only needs to be washed when it's dirty. So honestly, I wouldn't wash my projects until I get to the show or like the first time for the season to get them cleaned up. But constantly washing is not necessary in my opinion. I don't even wash my own hair constantly or daily or even weekly. So I think that if you have a good routine, if you have a blower and you can use that to get them clean, that's perfect. Get them clean with the blower, rinse them to cool them down, set the hair, grow some hair, brush it to set the hair, blow them dry. And that's a pretty good daily hair care routine. So I'm going to kind of show you what that means to me. And I'll also show you if I were using a spray for daily hair care. Okay, so first of all, we got her rinsed off. She's a pretty doggone nice heifer, soaking wet if you ask me. Anyway, so one thing to note first is where her head is tied. Anytime I'm working with an animal that I'm wanting to show or take to a jackpot show, I'm going to tie that head up. And I'm going to tie that head up pretty high. And I want to train them to hold their head up on their own and for them to build those muscles for a couple of reasons. First of all, they look better with their head up, no matter what. Second of all, the only way for them to get used to it is by it actually happening. So if you're a giant showman and you can hold that head up in the ring all by yourself with your muscles, that's cool. But if I've got a littler person, or I'm kind of lazy like myself, or I'm just not tall enough to pull that head up that high, well, I'm going to certainly want to train them to do that on their own. So that's going to make it easier in showmanship, in leading them. So first thing, always when you're working with them, tie their head up. Tie their head up in a safe manner. If they're not quite so trained, like this heifer, I would have that knot, I'd really just loop it around the top and then secure to a post, okay, so that you're safe. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do next with my comb, again, is what I was talking about with that white heifer. I'm gonna comb her down all over to begin with. Then I'm always going to want to comb it forward before I blow it. So when I'm talking about combing it forward, I'm talking about I want it eventually, every hair on her body is going to be pointing towards her pole when her head's up, right? When we're tied up. So first I'm going to comb it down, then I'm going to comb the hair forward, and this is all just to get every hair doing the same thing so that they look good, right? So then after we've combed forward, if you're combing towards the pole on the top, it's pretty much forward. If you're combing towards the pole on her quarter, which I hadn't quite got to yet, then what that means is it's more like up and forward at a diagonal. You see that? So I'm going to want to comb that hair after I've combed it down, after I've combed it straight forward, straight parallel to the ground. Then I'm going to want to comb it up towards her pole. So I'm always going to be bringing my comb up to the pole. That's going to set you up to blow the hair without making any cowlicks or lines. And if you've ever been around me when I'm teaching you anything, I always say you don't want lines in them. It draws attention to that. So a lot of times you'll get a line here in the tail head just because it's where the hair grows. It's different spots. Try your very best to always comb that down very, very much every time, and even use a rubber brush or a rice root brush, and then pull it forward. And eventually the line won't be there. It'll just be all uniform. Okay? So, but you got to start at the start. You got to start by getting that hair combed down and then combed forward before you start blowing on them. Okay? So I'm going to get her combed, and then we'll do that time-lapse video again of how to blow her off. All right, so I just got done with my heifers over here, right? And I just got done blowing her out a little bit the first time. I'm letting my heifer kind of sun dry and air dry to see what we can get without a blower. But I am to the step where I'm going to put my daily hair care spray on. And I came over to get some and I was out. So I'm going to show you how I make it. So what I do is I buy clean sheen or show sheen or whatever your sheen of choice is by the gallon. And what I'll do is I'll mix, this is a quart jar. So I'll make a mix of clean sheen and liniment. You can use absorbing horse liniment. I buy beagle oil by the gallon, and that's what I use. But liniment is that bracing agent that makes the hair pop out, that makes your skin feel cool, all of that. So what I do is I fill it exactly like it is, actually, to about the top with show sheen, clean sheen, whatever sheen of choice, and then the rest of it I would do in liniment. And this is my show sheen mix. Okay, then that pink lotion is this I just buy. It's like a hair product. And then my fly spray concentrate. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is first I'm gonna put this ounce in. Okay, got my new spray bottle mixed up. I've shook it up good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray her all over. Legs, body, oh, in the eyeball, poor girl. Okay, and then I'm going to brush with my rice root brush, and I will probably use my paddle brush, this one, to comb. Actually, I'll use this and the rice root brush, and I'll comb that spray in, and then I'm going to blow it in really, really good. And we'll do that on time lapse, but I'll probably spend another half an hour just working that into the hair and working the hair and fluffing it up, okay? So we'll do a little video after that and see what she looks like. She's still out here in the sun drying off so we can keep brushing on her. Okay, so I blew her off the second time. Then what I like to do is, yet again, spray them and comb it in. And so I'll do that. I will spray them twice and work it in, mostly because then I know that I'm hitting every spot. Because you can see in the time-lapse video, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place. I try to get her legs and her belly, and every time I start at their head when I'm blowing on them, or at least in the very beginning, I'll spend a lot of time on each side at their head and blow pretty vigorously all over here. And what that does is it desensitizes them. Lets them know what's going on, is especially if they're used to it. But that's what I do to train them too. And I'll let them freak out, and I'll blow them here on their head until they calm down, because it really doesn't hurt, especially making sure you don't blow in their ears, because that does bother them. But it doesn't hurt. It feels good actually to get all that crap out of their head. And then it makes it a little less scary when you're going everywhere else, because they already know what it is and they know it doesn't hurt. So as long as you are deliberate in your actions and blowing them in a manner that they can follow, they're not freaked out after you've done their head and they're like, oh, no biggie. Like, okay, so that's what I'm going to do on time lapse again. I will spray her and blow her again. Oh, it's getting windy and might rain again, so we might have to move back inside, but I'm almost done with her on what I'd call daily hair care. And it would probably take me, if I were to do this every day myself, it'd probably take me 45 minutes start to finish. And that's with a head up. So I would do that to train them with a head up. Most of that action is to work the hair, but also to train to have your head up for a long time, and to train those muscles to hold your head up, right? And so then when I would get done with this, when I get done, I will tie their heads down and feed them and give them a reward for having done it. So, you know, say you're getting close to fair time, you know, about 3 weeks out, if all you did was that for an hour a day, your steer would be pretty ready for fair. And it's really not that big a deal. And then by the time you get to the fair, like they're used to that, get washed, get blown, get fed, happy, and it's cool. It's easier. Or if you do that earlier and go to a jackpot show, then they've practiced all of the whole thing, the going somewhere else, the settling, the whatever. Okay? So just some thoughts. All right, here she is. She's all done, all gussied up. Okay, so I haven't clipped this heifer or really done much with her for, I don't know, about 3 weeks or so. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And since then, she's come in heat. So let's take a look at what we got going on. So we got a lot of rub marks up here. Poor girl. And she's losing that hair. Remember, I also was using that shedding comb on her to pull out the hair. So she's kind of in her little in-between phase, which is exactly why you would want to brush and work with her. That's how you're going to grow this hair back. So as you can see up, it always starts at the top. You get the old hair that turns kinky, curly, different color. It starts coming out. Then it all progresses down towards the belly. But so you're going to want to brush that out to get the next coat coming in. Some people will shave that off. I tried it once. I didn't like it. So I think the best way to go about it is to brush that hair out, and you're brushing the hair anyway and working it, training the new hair that's coming in, and you're getting all the way to the hide if you're brushing them that much, right? And also use that shedding comb to help get it out. But by the time you get that new coat in, it's going to be, already trained. All right, so I'm going to show you where we're going here. So now she's done standing up. This is where our white heifer is drying off. So we'll comb her next. And so we're just in practice. So I'm going to bring her over and tie her up with her buddy. And I have a radio going, super loud, pretty much, to just desensitize them to that. And they got stuff all over with the hoses on the ground. They got to walk through obstacle courses. And this is all just to desensitize them to weird stuff. When it's time to go to the show, it's less weird. They're already exposed at least. Okay, here's our white heifer. Now, it's been, let's see, it's been about an hour and a half since we got done combing her inside, and then we tied her outside for a little bit while I worked on the other heifer pretty much. So she's been in the wind here. So I'm going to re-time lapse me combing her again. Keep in mind, we have not blown her at all. This is water and a brush. Let's see what she looks like. We'll take a picture of her after just having been brushed the whole time with a brush and a comb. Okay? See what she looks like. And then we'll blow her off and have a couple of photos to compare. Okay, and now it's starting to rain, so I guess we're done with that. But you can see a little bit different. Again, these heifers need to be reclipped, so we got a lot of grow out, but you got a lot of growing here on top, which is cool. Anyway, using that blower made a difference too, right? So it's a tool that really both things together. You do need to brush them every day, and you need to use a blower if you'd like to be competitive, but you don't have to. You can do a pretty decent job. You can do a fantastic job with just a brush. I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, them white heifers, she's pretty fancy. Okay. Okay, so now we got our two shorthorn heifers cleaned up. I'm going to just treat this like it's jackpot day, like, pretend fair day, pretend training day, okay? So now it's my lunchtime. So it took me from about 8 to noon to do 2 heifers with the camera. But I know I can cut that in half, not doing camera work. So, an hour a day, well, that's not bad at all. That's really not bad at all, and that's including the brushing. So, I'm going to let these girls sit, though. We're pretending like we're at the show, so it's training. I will leave the radio on like I had demonstrated before. So, it's a windy day, and I left everything out, and there'll be noise and stuff moving, my children running through. And then I'll come back and work on the other heifer, and that would be a good training day for a steer at home for a practice going to the fair, right? If you were to tie them up in the barn for 1 or 2 days, you know, a couple of weeks or a week before fair, so that when they get there, it's familiar. That wouldn't be too hard to, you know, hedge your bets for success. Just something to think about.